Hey, welcome back to my podcast. It's been a while. I was looking at my, just like looking at old episodes. I'm like, when was the last time I uploaded anything for the pod? And it was October 25th of last year. So I'm like, I should probably do a little update and kind of let people know that I'm still alive and still kicking, which I am, here. Gabby's back there. Um, And I do want to eventually start doing a little bit more with the show again, have some guests and stuff like that. But um, I've been low on spoons, and I will explain why here. But first, welcome to the Vanessa Radio podcast. My name is Vanessa Joy. I am a lesbian living in Olympia, Washington. Um, Transgender, even though in public I don't really present that way, but online it's no secret. And a big point is the views and opinions of myself and anybody else you see on this show are my own, their own, our own, whatever, and not those of our respective employers or organizations or something like that. And that comes into particular play because I accepted a job offer on Friday. So um, I'll get into that as well in a little bit, but I am beyond excited. Um, I'm just hoping everything goes through without any major hitches because I've learned over the past few months about something called rejection sensitivity disorder, and it's a side effect of ADHD, and it's brutal. And it's something that has really kind of stepped forward in my life lately, especially since I've been unemployed for so long and going through some kind of wild relationship situations. And um, what it pretty much is it's the little troll sitting on your shoulder telling you all the horrible things that are happening, telling you that person you're talking to hates you. You know, if you get left on red and they're like, oh, well, they never want to talk to you again. And it can be all encompassing and horrible. It's worth looking up. You'll probably see a bunch of videos and reels on it on like Instagram and stuff. But if you read up on it, if you have ADHD and or autism, um, it's something that you've probably experienced at one point or constantly in your life. Events over the past few months have kind of put it into the forefront for me, if that makes sense. So let's see. In October, I just moved into this place that I am right now, and my goal is to get these little things off my screen. There we go. My goal is to move out of here in a few weeks. I went and looked at an apartment and applied for it. And so once everything with my new job is set, and I know that I'm starting when I'm supposed to start in late June, and um, I can go ahead and move in there. So Gabby and I will have our own place again in Olympia proper. Currently, I'm living in Lacey, and I'm a little bit too close to the military base for my liking. It's not anything against the military; it's against the noise. There's artillery demolitions a lot, and they can go to all hours of the night, like 2, 3, 4 in the morning. Every 20 seconds, there's an explosion. And when you're a reactive person yourself and you have a reactive dog like her, it's made for some sleepless nights. And I want to live in Olympia proper anyways. That's my home. It's even on my arm. I have, let's see, audio, the audio listeners can be like, what is she doing? But I have a tattoo. I got my first tattoo. Yeah, Washington with two intertwined female symbols because lesbian. And then there's a little heart right there, kind of hard to see, but where Olympia is. I'm hoping this is my forever home here. Hoping to get my son out here one of these days. That's another fight as well. There's a lot of drama, but it's me. You expect drama from me. This is what, almost 60 episodes in, and I always have some sort of drama. Um, that's what makes me interesting. So I joke that over the past few months, I've made some really close friends. And three of them are doctors of different types, like PhDs in medical. And they're hanging out with me, who was now the crazy unemployed girl with all the good stories. And I find it funny that the crowd I run with are such amazing women that have like had great success in life. And then here I am, an internally displaced person is what they call us that have fled our states. Um, and barely scraping by, no safety net. But they embrace me. And uh, the friendships I've built over the past few months are intensely amazing. And again, something I'll get into in a little bit. So we should probably back up. So in October, I was still working at my old job, and I had moved in here, gotten out of my last apartment, which was a mess. One of the buildings had burned down, mine had flooded. I wasn't making enough money at my old job to cover rent and pay for gas and everything because I was spending about $200 on gas a month, let alone all the wear and tear on my car going from Olympia or at the time I was in Tumwater to Shelton and back. And very pretty drive, but when you're in person and only making $23 an hour in Washington, those numbers just don't add up. Um, it's expensive to live here, and that was not enough to get by. So I moved in here for temporarily, and it's been longer than temporarily now. And yeah, um, so in late November, I met someone. Um, I've had a lot of relationships throughout my life. Um, Honestly, my pre-transition life, I don't really even remember much of anymore. Um, I mean, some major events, obviously, but overall, it's, I'm 4.5 years into my transition now, and my body is close to the point that I want it. I've had several surgeries since the last recording. And as you all know, I had bottom surgery about 2.5 years ago. Um, and I don't even really identify with the person I used to be anymore. I don't even really feel trans if I'm being honest with myself. In public, I just present as a tall lesbian. I my Claude has given me the moniker goth adjacent disaster lesbian, and I now have a disaster lesbian sticker on the back of my car because it's pretty accurate. So even though I'm definitely not gold star, I've strayed a little bit, but um, lesbian is the identity that I focus on most, and yeah, um, not the most popular thing in the trans community, but we all do our own thing, and as long as whatever we're doing doesn't hurt other people, that's I say what's important. But I've talked about that kind of stuff in the past on the show. Um, Anyways, I met somebody, and from the time I moved to Washington until then, shortly after I moved to Washington, I made an amazing friend. Um, I'm not going to name names on this show, pretty much ever. I might have named some names of some exes in the past, but just for everyone's safety, I think it's best I don't name names. But this person I met actually on her app not long after I moved here. And we didn't have a romantic connection, but we're both the same, pretty much same brand of autistic, and just hit it off really well. I I'm not that great at staying in contact with them. I'm not gonna lie. They listen to this, it's like time goes by way faster than I thought it does. Like the last time I saw them was at one of their parties, and I feel like that was a week and a half ago, but that was like a month and a half ago. So I actually asked them if they could drive me to my colonoscopy in a week and a half. They said yes. And then I'm like, crap, I haven't hung out with them for so long. So I reached out. Hopefully we can get together soon because I feel bad when I do that. It's not something I do on purpose. It's kind of an ADHD trait that if someone's not like right there in front of me, it's not that I forget about them. It's just time for me melts, especially over the past few months being unemployed. So back to meeting somebody. Um, I have been on a number of different dating apps, and I use different apps for different purposes. Like Hinge, I use for. I have two dating modes right now. I'm slowly looking for, carefully, mind you, looking for an eventual monogamous relationship or monogamish. And then I have like Field and Tinder where looking more for friends with benefits situations. Like I like building connections with people. Um, and I like to have a variety of people, but also have um, some steadiness to it. And um, so I've built up a little network of friends, like platonic friends that were spicy friends and spicy friends. That I put a major emphasis on the friendship portion because the sex is a fun bonus, but it's nice having people that you can just spend time with, do nothing with, all that stuff. So that's what I use Field and Tinder. Like my profiles are pretty obvious on there what I'm looking for. Um, not as obvious as my one friend that I met. Hers is, yeah, it's pretty epic and it works for her. So must be a nice piece of, anyways. Um, so person I met, um, is poly. Um, I, so one thing I've realized living out here is you kind of wind up poly whether you want to or not. Um, like I don't call myself poly. I'm not actively seeking to be poly, but I have three partners right now. So, um, and like more like comments that have come and gone and stuff like that. I have two regular and one kind of a comment. And it's not how I like set out to be, but monogamous relationships here are rare. Um, for me, that's kind of the downside of dating here, but there are a number of upsides. The main upside and the main difference between here and Ohio is I'm accepted here. I got extremely lucky in Ohio meeting the woman, my former partner there. Um, she's one of the most incredible women I've ever met in my life. And the level of support that she gave for me, both when I was there and when I was moving, even though I was moving away from her, and afterwards, won't ever be forgotten. I'll admit that I haven't stayed in very good touch. I haven't stayed in very good touch with anybody in Ohio. Really, the only person in Ohio that I talk to regularly is my son. Um, and I've kind of left it behind. Um, now that I have a job, especially a good job, a job that pays enough for me to live, it's not a huge amount of pay, and I don't need a huge amount of pay. It's a job that I can live comfortably and not have to worry all the time. Am I going to be going on vacations every year? No, but it's a job at a company that is extremely supportive of the queer and neurodivergent communities. The neurodivergent ERG is what really stood out to me. Because I hadn't seen that before, and that was being autistic and since I've had with former employers. It's very good to see. So, and the most I can say about the job is it's an operations position, and I'm an operations nerd. And I must have impressed them because the hiring process went pretty quick. And it was legitimately the most fun interview I've ever had. I had the panel laughing. I started crying. Um, and, but like usually interviews are super stressful. And that one was just like talking to a group of friends. And it's like, I knew that there was a fit here. And apparently they did too. So, because the next day I had my final interview, and the day after that I had an offer in hand. So the relief from that is amazing. But again, I'm bouncing all over the place because this is how my brain works. Anyone that's listened to this show, especially now that I've taken it solo, knows that I will start on a topic and then it goes all over the place and it kind of circles back. But so I met someone, um, and I've been in love a number of times in my life. The word love I use carefully. There, I have there's three, sorry, types of love for me. There's a love I have for my son, which is its own special, unique thing. Um, and that's not something that could be duplicated anywhere. It's love a parent has. Um, I have love for my friends, and that's my my trust, my bond, my um, my appreciation for who they are, my enjoyment being around them, my sheer fondness of their presence and their humanity and the amazing people that they are. And then there's in love, and in love is a whole different animal. Um, it hasn't happened to me a whole lot in my life, um, and it's happened at different levels. In this case, it hit so hard and so fast that it was almost like getting hit in the face by a baseball bat. Like, I had really retreated into my shell after moving here. I was scared. I wasn't making enough money. I wasn't sure how I was going to make ends meet here. And it's hard when you get to paradise and you're like, well, frankly, throughout this unemployment, like, I was afraid of being homeless and can't go back to Ohio. Yes, my son's there, but I don't get to see my son. It's a whole other story. Um, and all of my clients have moved on to other photographers and stuff. And even then, I was not even making $20,000 a year as a photographer in Ohio. Like, I was not making ends meet. Um, and photography here hasn't been very lucrative either, but that's because everybody in Olympia is a professional photographer, and half of them give it away for free. If you're a photographer and you give away your work for free, stop doing that. You're hurting everybody, including yourself. So your work is valuable. And don't listen to people when they say that, oh, if you do it for free, it'll be good for exposure. No, it's not exposure. All it's doing is exposing you to other people that know that you work for free now. So make some money. It's a skill. And so, but I've had a few photo gigs. I photoed a wedding over the summer, which was amazing and terrifying, because it's high risk. And I photographed a little kid's first birthday a couple weeks ago, and that was adorable. And some real estate photography. But um, yeah. So how did I get to that? Oh, just being afraid of losing things here. Um, so I retreated in my shell, and I had initially talked to this woman a few months earlier. But I had met someone that seemed kind of interesting, but then I'm like, it just it wasn't a thing that was going to work. And then, so I created my field profile again and we reconnected and, um, and we met, and I don't know what it is about her. Um, I fell hard. I fell harder than I fell harder than fallen in my life. It was like, she and I joke about it now that the intensity of it was unexpected and almost to the point that it was embarrassing. Over time, I definitely grew an obsession with her, which was not healthy, and part of the reason why we broke up. Um, but so she is poly, very lesbian leaning, more queer than I am. Um, I'm much more, if I stray from women, I primarily, I really only date AFAB people, which again is controversial in the trans community. Though I have a curiosity that I'm working on right now, but I won't get into that. So, but so we started dating, and it moved. It's very stereotypical lesbian. Like, we didn't U-Haul. It's not like we moved in together, but it moved fast. Like the first month and a half of the relationship was the intensity that most people won't have, like in total over 10 years of a relationship. It was a whirlwind. It was amazing. This woman is one of the most amazing people I've ever met in my life. And she, we had only known each other for a few weeks when she offered to come to Arizona for part of the time when I was there after my first facial fem surgery to take care of me. And that was huge because, like, I've been alone out here. And I wasn't expecting someone to be that. I, I've had selfless people in my life, like my last partner in Ohio is a very good example of that. Um, Someone has just met me that was exhibiting so much kindness and so much empathy. And I mean, well, it is kind of her profession as well, but um, as a doctor, but still, it's an aside. She is a um, it's hard to even put into words how the depths of her of what she's been capable of offering and her limitations, and the limitations are things that came to a head later. So we early dating throughout December, and then in the middle of January, I had my first round of facial feminization surgery. So I had my forehead. Turn this way. Um, I had my brow bone pretty much removed, shaved down. There's titanium mesh in my head now. I had a brow lift on both sides, and my hairline reduced a little bit. But the most impactful part was the brow bone being brought down. So that's probably so far been the most impactful part of my facial feminization surgeries. And when we got back, combination of I had gotten laid off on January 8th, and combination of that and the surgery and recovery and depression, post surgical depression is a thing. Um, and we wound up spending a lot of time together, and it was way more time than she had the bandwidth of really time to be able to give, but she gave it. And um, I became, I grew an extremely anxious attachment to her, and on an unhealthy level. To the point where I was kind of having nervous breakdowns from my RSD triggering so often. I was started switching medications and stuff like that, and um, eventually, but one of the number one things that we've done, one of my number one things in life, be it any sort of relationship, be it romantic, interpersonal, corporate, is communication, and we were very good at communication. We kept kind of like trying to redefine how the relationship was. And even after a couple of months, like, did we see a counselor or something? But now we joke about that as well, where it's not something that you should be having to talk about after a couple of months. So we split amicably, which for someone with anxious attachment obviously was not easy. And the reasonings for which are sound, her reasonings I still 100% agree with. And we have stayed close since. And now, in true lesbian fashion, we're best friends. Which you know, um, and the entire thing, I've lived my life with love being a certain, like having a certain understanding of what being in love is, and like where if I was in love, I had to be like in an exclusive, monogamous, serious relationship with the person. And this situation showed me that you're not always compatible with the people you fall in love with. Um, she and I are amazing friends. And like when we spend time together, we have an amazing time, great conversations, and just the amount of trust I have in her is more trust than I've had in most anybody in my life. Um, but sometimes it's just not compatible. There are major things that, like, she and I cannot be in a relationship. We never will be in a romantic relationship. Um, which, sucks on one hand, but it's something that we can admit. And rather than try to beat that, try to like make it work, we're refocusing. And she taught me that love can come in different forms, and I can be in love with somebody, but not be with them. And that was kind of mind blowing to me because I've only ever had kind of one way of that working. So, um, and then she also went with me for my second surgery in April, even with the breakup. But by then we had become very close again, and which is amazing. Like having someone like that supporting you after surgery is, I can't even tell you how helpful and wonderful that was. So, my second surgery was nose, chin, and jaw. Um, I have another one coming up in June that I'm just going down quickly. I don't need a support person for it, but it's one that Kaiser initially denied, where my surgeon wants to do a mid facelift too. Um, People assigned male at birth have kind of flatter cheeks, and just gonna kind of push them up a little bit and then inject a little bit of fat, so to give a little bit more of an apple shape there. Um, and Kaiser initially denied it, and my surgeon kind of made it her personal mission to get this pushed through. And she did. So I go back um, in middle of June. So it's funny that my surgeon, even though I'm Kaiser in Washington, my surgeon's in Arizona. I'm going to Dr. Yu at the Meltzer Clinic. And I like her work because it's very subtle. I I don't know her exact style, like how she decides how she's going to do things, but to me, it's almost like she pictured if I were born with an AFAB twin sister, what would that person look like? And that's what she's trying to do. So she focuses on subtlety and realism and not that super plasticky look that you'll see with a lot of facial femmes. Like, I didn't want to look like I had plastic surgery, and I don't look like I have plastic surgery. My facial features are just softened now, which um, is great. And but Kaiser covered her, and her wait list was short. And I've been flat out worried that the procedures will get banned federally, so I wanted to get it done. Um, so Kaiser actually pays to fly you down there. They put you up in a hotel. They give you a per diem for expenses. So it's a pretty sweet deal. Um, when I left my last job, I can't get into what all happened there, but I was able to keep my insurance through June. And so that was handy because I needed this insurance because I was already at my max out of pocket after my first surgery. So my second and third surgeries are free. So even though I've been having to spend like $1,200 a month in Cobra, it's worth it because these are expensive surgeries. And I was able to get all three done. Really should have only had to do it in two, but with Kaiser denying the first one, I appealed it. They denied the appeal. I did an external appeal that got denied. So, but now it's covered. So back I go. Um, but that's one of the wonderful things about being trans in Washington is you have access to this care. And um, yeah, so it's one of the many reasons I moved to Washington in particular was to get facial fem surgery. And I'm glad I was able to do it, even though I was no longer employed. So, backing up then a little bit, after the breakup, it kind of spurred me to, well, even before, because she's poly, and since I was in a poly relationship then, I'm like, okay, well, I need to actually try to embrace this and see how I do with it. My problem is jealousy, and I have an intense amount of jealousy in relationships. I felt it in the past back in Ohio. I was in a poly relationship where I was really more monogamous to her with my last partner there. But I mean, I had some fun outside, um, out and about, like clubs and stuff. But um, I wasn't actively seeking out any other relationships. Not that I even really could have in Ohio, because dating while trans in Ohio is next to impossible, um, especially when you're trying to date cis people. Um, and so I'm like, well, I'm going to start branching out, especially as getting closer to when we were about to break up. And um, so I started back up on the apps and kind of focusing on, rather than finding multiple relationships, to find a possible monogamous relationship. Because I knew the writing was on the wall with my relationship with her. And ultimately, I think what I need is, as I said, a monogamous or monogamish kind of situation, um, with lots of communication. But um, so I want to get down the apps, and I started meeting people. And um, I've built a few very close friends from it, including my ex, now best friend, obviously. But there are three other people in particular that I've grown very close with. And um, two of them are platonic, and two are not. Um, and I've built connections that I haven't really had in-person friends like the friends that I've made here in Washington. Between my first friend I made back early last year when I moved here, and the four people in my life now. I don't want to say women because some are genderqueer, and but the impact these people have had on my life is transformative. Um, I I feel included. Like, it's hard for me to accept that people like me. Um, Having grown up in from childhood through adulthood, since I was in the family business for so long, um, in an abusive situation with parents that flat out hated me. There's both of them narcissists. Um, Always being told I wasn't good enough. Always being told no one would like me. Always being told I'd never succeed at anything in life. Um, that kind of stuff wears on you, and it kind of bakes into your head. And now I have these people that like actually want to spend time with me, like kind of mind blowing. Um, and like each one of my friends, I have different sorts of connections with. Um, and so that's a nice variety. Um, and yeah, I 2026, despite all the political absolute craziness going on and the stress of not having a job, making these connections, these friends, has been so important to me. And I hold a lot of love in my heart for them. And I'm hoping these are friendships that last a lifetime. I think they will, because they are all based on clear, transparent communication as well. Um, Another thing, when a lot of autistic people will understand this, especially ADHD, autistic, ADHD probably as well, neurodivergent. Um, for us, the line between platonic and romantic is pretty blurry. I'm attracted to all my friends. Like, all of my friends started off as dates in one form or another. Some of my connections have continued to be sexual, and some are not. But all of them I met on apps in one form or another. And I think that's one thing that kind of creates kind of a closer bondness, in that a closer bond, in that these people are near and dear to my heart in multiple of ways. And yeah, it's it's that's been a very good part of the past few months. So, um, other parts this year have been hard. Being unemployed in this job market, I was terrified. So it was 133 days from being laid off to 134 actually to getting an offer letter. I sent out over that period 225 resumes. During that period, I had 2 surgeries with recoveries. I had an extreme delay to my unemployment money um, because of my hospitalization for surgery. It screwed everything up, and um, and then like I had the 2 surgeries. Just the job hunting. One of the final weeks, I sent out 50 resumes because the desperation was getting high. But that's sending out almost 2 a day, um, which when you do it the way I'm doing it was a full time job. I have about 12 different types, versions of my resume for different roles. And yes, I use AI. It's not popular. I use it as a tool. I use it for job hunting. I use it for D&D campaign prep, and I use it for personal journaling and kind of relationship maintenance because it has really helped keep me sane over the past few months. I use Claude for all that. And so I would write custom cover letters for every role I applied to. Um, and co-write, I guess would be a good way of putting it, because I would go through and tweak things. But um, Claude has learned my background well enough to be able to kind of adapt on the fly to things. So, but my resumes are pretty good. They've worked, especially even in the state system, because I've been playing to a lot of state roles over the past, shoot, ever since I moved here, I've been applying to state roles. But um, there's very specific ways you have to word things with state roles. And on a lot of the roles, I got moved up to eligible lists and interviews and stuff like that. So I know that that my resumes were good, and well, also landed me my current job. Um, but this job market is defeating a lot of people, and it almost defeated me. Um, I don't believe the unemployment numbers that are published. I think our unemployment in the country is probably closer to 20% right now. And no one can find work. Like, these are in-person jobs that I'm applying to. It's not just remote. Yeah, I'm applying to some remote jobs, but these in-person jobs, hundreds of applicants. Just like my last job, I bid out 92 applicants for that job. It was essentially a mailroom clerk position that had like EA duties and stuff like that. But I was also the mail girl. I kind of joked about that. Former COO turned mail girl. But and like I was happy I got that um, because again, that's a lot of people to beat out for that one role. I don't know how many people interviewed for my role or applied for my role that I got now. But from what I've heard from some of the recruiters at some of the places that I'd applied at, they are so overwhelmed with resumes that it's next to impossible for them to get anything done, to even view them all. So, um, is using AI the right thing? Probably not. I know it's damaging to so many things. But in Japan, you kind of have to fight fire with fire because AI is being used against you. So you need to fight with the same weapons that you're up against. As much as I hate saying it that way, it was hard. And I was down to 4 weeks of unemployment, uncertain housing, and money and savings dwindling. And it was getting scary there. So this came in at the perfect time. I start the day before my birthday, which is a pretty good birthday present. And it's a role that I'm legitimately excited to start because it is so perfectly in my wheelhouse. And it's a role that will keep me busy constantly because every day is different. It's a day where every day there's different fires to put out, and that's where I succeed in business. That's what I did back when I ran Dale Adams Enterprises. Like every day there's a new catastrophe going on, and so for me, the insanity has become the norm, and I don't do good in positions where I just sit and just desk jockey. Um, so I'm super excited, and I get to work from home for the most part. There'll be times where I'll be going different places, but this one won't be home alone all day anymore. So, what do you think of that, huh? Those of you listening, my dog is just being dog, really. Yeah, she's 10 years old now. She's allowed to do whatever she wants. So, um, but yeah, so my search for an eventual monogamous situation continues. I have met someone recently. I've not met her in person, but I feel pretty strong connection with her so far. Um, we have a lot in common. Our morals align very well. And so I'm looking forward to meeting in person because in person, people like vibes can be different. Um, but the communication we've had so far has been wonderful. So we'll see there. But I want to do an episode where I have at least one other guest, someone from the South Sound, that is also in sapphic dating, but who is AFAB instead of trans like me, um, to talk about the similarities and differences that we find with our different identities. And it'd be especially useful if that person has also moved here from a red state, um, to kind of compare and contrast how it was there. So for me, dating in Ohio, pre-transition, whole different story, obviously. And then I went celibate until I was healed from bottom surgery because I wanted nothing to do with what I used to have down there. Um, and I'm one of those trans people that uh, was lucky enough to get all of the dysphorias, not just some. Because some people don't have dysphoria around certain parts of their body. Like as I said before, there's no one way, there's no right or wrong way to be trans. It is such a massive spectrum, um, and everybody's intensities of things are different. But I just happen to get a whole lot of dysphoria. There's other things that I'm working on. I'm trying to weight cycle. I'm trying to lose all of the boy fat that I still have in my body and then gain back while doing lower body exercises so I can get myself an ass. I had one when I was heavier, but between the last episode and now, I've lost almost 30 pounds. So I probably look a little bit skinnier on camera now. Last time I had my shoulders uncovered, but um, so I have another at least 30 to go. So I want to get down to around 190. I'm at 216, 217 right now. I keep plateauing. I'm sure I'll lose more again in a week and a half before colonoscopy, which, yay, turned 45, but I've had some intense chronic rectal pain lately that turns out to be stress related, which is interesting, um, but very on track for how it's a very Vanessa kind of thing to have. So I'm such a tight ass that it gets to a level of 9 in pain. It's not just a little bit of pain. It's up at night screaming, crying on the phone with a nurse's line pain. Um, the most intense pain I've felt in my life, which is wild because like it's due to stress. Yeah, embarrassing, but whatever. Um, it's popping up just talking about it right now. Stop, go away. Um, so I don't know where I was with that. Oh, but so like the differences for dating in Ohio, I tried meeting people. I got extremely lucky finding my former partner there, who is one of just the most incredible women in the world. Um, had I not found her, I probably wouldn't have found anybody. I have talked about this in episodes in the past. I have People call it, internalized transphobia, and I hardcore disagree with that term. I call it projected dysphoria. Um, I have my own dysphoria, and with other trans people, I see the parts of me that cause me dysphoria, and I project it upon them, and it is not fair to them. Um, and I also have I have a genital and not just preference requirement. Um, so yeah, so that's why I date AFAB people. But um, in Ohio, the community was different. Um, Here, people don't care. I don't have it on my profile that I'm trans because again, like in public, I'm just Vanessa the tall lesbian. Um, and I'm not someone that embraces her trans identity big time because it's just not really part of who I am. It's something that I happen to be. And, um, but I don't make it my entire identity. I much prefer to focus on being a lesbian because I have more fun with that anyways. I pretty much everyone that I connect with is queer or pan or bi or I don't think I've connected with a true full lesbian. One was close. And she told me she never wants to see me again, but I got some, I got some good tutoring out of that, I suppose. But and all the way up in North Seattle, that was a haul. But um, people don't care that I'm trans. There's genital preferences, yes, and I meet those preferences that not even all of them have because, like again, most of the people that pretty much everyone I've been with over the past few months, it's they just don't care. I'm just one of the girls. Like it's almost shocking how little people care about people being trans here. Where because in red states it was a big deal and it was dangerous to be trans in public. Here, like well, one, most people can't tell I'm trans anyways. I pass pretty well. I'm fortunate. I have pretty privilege. I am cis passing quite frequently. Even when I was driving here from Washington, I went to a bathroom in deep red Montana and no one knew, no one cared. Um, so my focus, I started focusing on cis passing in Ohio for safety and I've just kind of continued it here. Anyone that I'm talking to on a dating or sexual level, obviously, I disclose that. Because for some people, it's going to be a deal breaker, but as I said, I think I've gotten unmatched twice after disclosing. So um, the level of acceptance I have here and the fact that I am not othered by any of the people that I've been with. Um, in fact, for a handful of people, I've been the first woman that they've ever been with, which is kind of a interesting thing that has kind of happened to me. Like, guess I'm introducing people. I say I'm introducing them to the dark side and come to the dark side. We have cookies, we smell better and we're softer and we have more emotional depth. So, because if you know me, I identify as Sith, not Jedi. So of course I'm dark side. That's what my purse says on it. Um, I'm chaotic neutral. What do you expect? People are like, you don't consider yourself a good person? I'm like, I'm a good person. I I err on the side of good until it no longer benefits me. And there's been some situations over the past year where people have found that out. Um, Treat me well, I treat you well. And I will continue to try to make humanity better. But if someone steps on me, I bite back. It's a promise I made to myself when I moved here that I would not, I would stand up for myself, and I have. And there's been extreme risk and reward in doing that. But I think it's something important for me. But back to dating, it's just wonderful to be included. Like, yeah, I've had best sex of my life over the past few months, and hope to continue that. Um, and Even when I find a monogamous relationship, I want it to be amazing, or go monogamish, whatever. It will be hard to give up some of my partners, I'm not gonna lie, but we'll see what happens. um, I know where Dion came from. It's only a little bit after noon here, but so yeah, that's what I'm looking for a future episode is to have a conversation with some one or two AFAB people who are dating in the South Sound, dating and hooking up specifically, and with other sapphics. I'm not focusing on people who are, I mean, they can be bisexual, fine. I'm talking about specific sapphic relations. So, um, regardless of if they date other genders as well, which is perfectly fine. I want to focus on that particular experience. And if they're also from a red state, all the better. So, there's a lot of people from red states moving here. There's an estimate that so far 9% of the trans population has become internally displaced people moving from red states to blue states. It's 400 some thousand people. And that number was back earlier in the year. I wouldn't be surprised if it's much higher now. So, um, in Ohio, seeing another trans person was a whoa, wow. Like, you didn't see many of us around here everywhere you go. Um, and we are just part of normal culture here. And yes, there's conservatives and stuff that are very vocal online, but they're in such the minority here. And the acceptance that I have, like, I got a job, like, especially this one I just got hired in at as a disabled transgender person. And both of those identities were embraced by this company. Um, and that means more to me than they will ever really know. So, um, and while it is a national company, um, being here and so accepted here, I'm glad that I found them in this role while here rather than there. And yeah, I am beyond excited to start this new position. It's still about a month out before I start, and um, I'm hoping to once everything lines up, background checks and all that stuff, and then once uh, I get enough information for this apartment to get the lease, they they want more history of renting from corporations rather than independent people, and most of my rental history has been from private owners. So I'm hoping that doesn't nip me too much. I have like 6 months of um, rental history from a corporation, so I'm hoping that's enough. But we'll see because it's a wonderful place. Gabby's gonna love it. It's quiet. It's in the shade. It's in Olympia. There's even a dog park and two pools at the complex. So um, I feel like it's been a very rough few months in a lot of ways. I am so thankful for my best friend and my other new friends for and old friends for helping me get through it. Um, it's hard, with the uncertainty. Job hunting is hard enough. Job hunting as a woman is even harder. Job hunting as a neurodivergent person is even harder. Job hunting as a transgender neurodivergent woman it feels like it's next to impossible. So, but those of you that are on the market, I found a job. And if I did, you should be able to as well. When it happens, I don't know. But if you're anti AI, I 100% respect that. If you're willing to use it, um, get yourself a professional membership on Claude. It's $20 a month. And that's how I have a job. Hands down, how I have a job. My ability to stay sane while applying, because had I been trying to do it all, it's a full-time job finding work. If I had to do it all just like independently trying to rewrite my resumes, all those times, it's just kind of too much for one person. Um, Neurodivergent or not, it's just a lot. So if you're willing to use the tools, use the tools. But I 100% understand if it's something that you are not comfortable doing. Um, because data centers are ruining this country. Like, yeah, I only use AI for things that I could not use someone else for. So, yeah, I'm not going to be hiring anybody to do job hunting or being my personal journal or helping create D&D campaigns. So, um, that's all just my little brain pan. So, if you're out there, stick with it. It's hard. Diversify yourself. Um, think of all of the skills that you have. And because a lot of us have had like jobs where like the job had a focus, but you have a lot of other skills and other things. So think outside the box and build resumes around those skills too. Um, I have I have a base resume that kind of covers everything, and I use that for some roles, not a lot. I have a resume for HR. I have a resume for executive assistants. I have a resume for higher level executive assistants. I have a resume for C-suite level roles because I used to be C-suite. I have um, two different HR resumes actually. I have a leadership and then standards. So depending on the role I was applying to, I have different operations resumes for different types of roles. Marketing resume. I have a DEI resume. So like think of everything that you've done in your life and career and figure out how you can monetize it and turn it into something that can be used on a resume. This podcast is on my resume. Um, because this podcast has given me a lot of skills, especially early on. Like I used to have guests. The show used to be weekly. I had guests all the time, booking them from across the country, getting them all scheduled, getting them set up, coming up with topics, learning production. Like I don't go very heavy production on the show anymore. Like I just upload the video. It's like whatever. But if you look at my earlier videos back when I had um, um, co-hosts and lots of guests and stuff. I put a lot of time and work into those, and maybe in the future I might do it again. Right now, this is kind of like a fun hobby for me. It was becoming way too much of a job, and I was not getting paid for it. Still not getting paid for it, but it was getting too stressful. But but I put a lot of time and effort into the production value of those shows. I edited them. I even did AI transcripts, and those AI transcripts were not very good. I hope they're better nowadays. Um, but I had a lot of passion in that. I taught myself how to use Adobe Premiere Pro. And so that's how you can turn your hobbies into actual marketable skills. Because from the podcast, I was able to refine my people management skills, operations skills, um, marketing, production, all that stuff. It was all legitimate stuff that I would do at a job. I was just doing it for free, for fun. My photography company is on my resume um, because I was self-employed with that. And that gives skills as well, especially for marketing and networking in interpersonal communications. I'm a licensed drone pilot, so that's on there as well. Did I ever make a lot of money with photography? No. I think my best year is before I came out. Before I came out, I think I made 60 grand one year doing it. As soon as I came out, I was in Ohio. People don't hire trans people in Ohio, except for the very few lucky clients I was able to find. But otherwise, yeah, I wasn't finding work there. Um, and here people are much more willing to hire me. There's just way too many photographers. So, and I'm trying to break into a very established system. And then I used my time at the job I had here last year. I have that kind of as a few bullet points, the things that kind of stand out, like um, supporting multiple locations and stuff like that. Because at Dale Adams Enterprises, even though I was the head of that company, we only had one location. I relocated us, but so think of all the things that you've done. Excuse me. I think of all the things that you've done with your career and build resumes around that. Um, diversify yourself because we all have more skills than we realize that we have. So I'm starting to get a scratch in my throat, so I should cut this off. But thank you for listening. Um, any of my friends that I've been talking about are listening to this. I love you. Um, and thank you for being in my life. And yeah, um, people from Ohio that miss me, I'm sorry I left you behind. I'm not sorry I left Ohio at all. There's very little I miss about that state other than my son and my friends. Um, I do kind of miss thunderstorms. We don't have those here, but the weather here is so much better, especially now that we're getting into summer. One thing that we Washingtonians don't tell the rest of the country, we want you to think it rains all the time. We don't tell you about our summers, which are beyond amazing. So, yeah. Oops, I just said it out loud. That's for my trans fam. Come here, please. Come here. Be as safe as you can. If you can find a way to do it. I did it with nothing. I packed up my car with what I could fit in it, myself and my dog. I left everything else behind. Be sure you have a job first. Don't move here without employment. But as soon as you can find a job, apply to everything. Apply hardcore. Apply to in-person roles. And if you can get a way to get here and you can budget, I mean, look, budget at least $1,500 for housing. Gas is over $6 a gallon here, so it is more expensive to live. So like budget high, but again, I did it and I had no safety net. I have no safety net. I have no family. I asked my mother for money, which, I'm desperate if I reached out to her, and she sent me $100. So that was pretty much said what I needed to know from that. But start a GoFundMe, and you have more friends than you realize you have. And strangers. Like another one of the things I want to do when I start having enough money is donate to other people's GoFundMe campaigns, because I wouldn't have been able to get bottom surgery and I wouldn't have been able to move here if not for independent, extremely generous donations from strangers. I had donation for each that was $1,000 from a complete stranger, both times, different strangers. And yeah, it can help. By the time I got here, all my credit cards were maxed. I had $20 left when I got here. So if you can find a way to get out, if you're in a dangerous place, please do. I'm terrified of the amount of damage that's going to happen as this administration implodes on itself. Is any state perfectly safe? No. But Washington's pretty damn good. We have protections built into our Constitution here. And it's a border state. The people are wonderful and supportive. And I know Seattle right now they're dealing with a large influx of queer, specifically trans people, because the PNW is the place to be. Oregon's also good. And, it's scary. Like, I left my son behind, and that's another fight that I'm going to have coming up. I'm hoping I have enough money left over that I do plan on hiring a lawyer and having my parenting agreement redone, because as it currently stands, it's extremely punishing to me, and it's not fair for me to only be able to see my son once every 6 months. And I need to fix that. But so I need to find a lawyer for that. So I'm hoping maybe someone that listens to this in Ohio might have a lead on a lawyer that has experience with unique family situations, and just specifically when one of the parent lives in a different state. So that's one of the toughest parts I found, is finding a lawyer that can work with me living in Washington. But yeah, chin up, everybody. It's going to get worse before it gets better, but I don't think the situation that we are in is sustainable. But if you can get to safety, please do. And as I said, You have more friends than you realize. Um, the hardest part, and it's a thing that from people I've talked to that are struggling with leaving, is the leaving everything behind. And that's an extremely valid feeling. Like, I didn't know anyone when I moved here. I've done other episodes on it, and it was terrifying. And again, no safety net because I don't have any family. Even in Ohio, I don't have any family. So if I'm going to wind up homeless, I'd rather be homeless here than there. Um, but if you can bring yourself to do it, it's worth it. Um, I'm not lying when I say it's paradise here. It's not just because I love Mount Tahoma, which people call it Rainier. I call it Tahoma because that's what the natives call it. Um, it's gorgeous everywhere you go. The people are extremely inviting and warm. Um, they do say guys here way more than I would like, and they're like, well, it's just gender neutral. I'm like, okay, then why don't we say gals? And they're like, oh, but yeah, that's neither here nor there. It just makes me cringe because I'm very femme. Like, I, I mean, gender is a spectrum in a sphere. But if it were a line, like the Kinsey scale, I'm a 6, emotionally and a 5.5 sexually on Kinsey scale. If there's a gender scale like that, where there's a slider, I'm all the way to the femme side, even though I do wear quite a bit of flannel, but I live in the PNW. Okay. It's a rite of passage. So thank you for listening. I don't know when the next episode will come out. I do hope that I can have those interviews. And once things settle down, um, it'd be fun to kind of pick the show up again. But I have a feeling I'm going to be exceedingly busy with this new job, which is a good thing because one of the worst parts of this unemployment is having been home alone with myself. And my brain is not a very kind place to be alone with. My brain says some mean things and does some mean things to me. And I have struggled a lot, and my mental health it took a hit during this unemployment session. So um, I'm so excited to start a new job. And I love that I'm excited to start a new job because that means that this job's a good fit for me. One of the interesting things, and this is kind of a suggestion for recruiters, is um, there's a screening interview and then a panel interview. And the panel interview had other people with the role that I was applying to for it. And that's a great choice to have on a panel. And I would hope to see more companies and organizations doing that because you're testing a culture fit as well. And so if the people that are doing the same job as you are there and they can kind of get an idea of who you are, one, you can learn more about the role because they're actually doing it. And two, they can definitely sense if there's a culture fit. So, not everyone can do every job. This episode's getting long. I keep saying I'm wrapping up and then I just keep going. But if you've listened to me before, you know this is how I work. We're only at an hour and almost 9, so whatever. Um, I'm a firm believer that only about 30% of the people that are in management roles should be in management roles. How many times do you hear of just employees imploding due to horrible middle management, stuff like that? There's a lot of people that get promoted that don't have the personality, the skills, experience, whatever, to be in management. And because you do know when you have one that does, those are the bosses that you have as amazing bosses. Like my last direct boss, amazing boss, absolutely amazing boss. And that boy needs to be promoted all the way up to anywhere possible. He tamed me, right? I I had been the head of a company for 13 years, like C-suite. So I was C-level, COO and CPO. And then I was my own boss for 6 years. So this poor guy had to take this, who had all that experience and leadership knowledge and just pride, honestly, that I had in having been the boss for so long, then being placed at the entry level in an organization. He had to keep me in line. And he did. So, and he did it with kindness and understanding and communication as a good leader should. So, I don't know if he listens to this podcast, but um, he needs to know that he is someone special in the leadership. And I hope that is he's recognized for that soon, um, because it's hard to find the right people in leadership. So, um, from what I've gathered from the organization I am joining, they place a large amount of um, importance on clear communication, understanding, learning from mistakes, um, embracing mistakes. That was one of the things in the interview. They wanted to know about one of my biggest mistakes, and I laid out a pretty example that did not make me look good. Um, and that was a good thing in the interview, though. So, because in life, in business, we make mistakes. And the key thing is how do you react to it and what did you learn from it? Like, my mistake wound up working out, but there was much better ways I could have done it. And I haven't been proud of how I did it. It makes for kind of a funny story sometimes, but overall, it was, yeah, it was not a high point of my career. And, but a good leader knows when they make mistakes to learn from them. And this organization puts a lot of value in that. And I am extremely excited to join up. Um, I won't be talking about it much in any future episode. This is me saying that I found a job, it's in my wheelhouse, but my professional life has nothing to do with this podcast. And I mainly tell a story about me getting a job to give people hope that they can get one too. So, um, for someone as public facing as I am, I have also learned to be private about a number of things. That's why I don't talk about names. I don't talk about what happened at previous places. I don't name names of companies and stuff like that. Um, that's just kind of a smart thing to do because it's not information that people need to know. Like if you're telling a story and it has names and identifications and stuff, and it's a story that's important to you, sit back and ask yourself if the identifying markers are vital to the story. And unless you are in court or something like that, they don't. Um, you can change names, you can just leave out names, stuff like that. So um, be careful on the internet. And it's scary right now. So I have most of my stuff locked down. My threads goes between private and public, but my threads is mainly just me being a horny lesbian. So um, if you follow me there, it's just mainly just eye rolling cringe stuff like my poor attempts at thirst traps. And I don't know how to look sexy on a camera. I really don't. So yes, I'm wearing a shirt with some cleavage today. Um, yeah, I don't know how to be sexy. So which is kind of the comedy of it all. But be careful. Like you do what you think is best for you, but I want people to be safe. I want people to get through things um, and come out on the other side, you know, happy and healthy. So I wish everyone the best. I'm so thankful for listeners. The show's gained a number of new listeners, surprisingly. I do keep track of viewers and counts. I host through Buzzsprout, and they send me updates weekly on episodes being listened to. And I've been seeing a decent uptick in listeners. So that means I'm hoping that the show is helping people. Um, there are some very impactful episodes. Um, I tell people very frequently about my interview with Dr. Ferrando because there's so much misinformation and just lack of understanding around bottom surgery. And having her on the show was amazing. Other surgeons, politicians, it's if you haven't listened to back episodes of this show, I highly recommend doing it. There's some really amazing content on here. I've had some absolutely legendary co-hosts on here. Yeah, I think even though like some of the political stuff would be dated at this point, there's other stuff that's just pertinent always. Parenting advice, stuff like that, and there's a lot of comedy. We try to be funny. Um, but yeah, I'm thankful that people are still finding my little tiny show. I wish it was bigger. I less on a selfish level, more I really wish my episodes that I think would be very helpful for a lot of people would get out there more. But then I also kind of worried about them getting out there more because of the whole situation that we're in right now, which I shall not speak of, but you know what I'm talking about. It's a double-edged sword. There's actually been times where I thought of taking the podcast offline, but I have not. I continued to host it. Um, and is it a little expense every month? Yes, but I think people are finding a benefit from it. So until then, signing off. Have a day. It's almost June. Enjoy your summers and keep your chin ups. Chins. Chins, chin, chin, multiple chins. My chin got smaller after surgery.